welcome to Flair UK, Legends in Bartending. And today we have the amazing, the one and only Leigh Miller. Yeah.
Hey Rob, how you doing?
So I'm good, thank you. So where are we today?
I managed to escape on that the lockdown, and so I just nipped over to Spain. So I've just done a little bit of bumming around and just stay in the warm really, because I prefer it than the rainy England. So yeah, I was quite lucky to get out here.
Well, again, I'm so excited about today. So we're going to take you all the way back to 1992. So we obviously I like to obviously say what was going on at that time. So at the time we did have the actual, let's have a look at my actual papers because I did this last night. So the, let's see, where were we, 92? God, yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, there's so many things you've done. It's unbelievable. So, oh yeah, there we go. 92, the film that was out at the time was Aladdin and the Bodyguard.
Oh, really?
And the number one song was Boys to Men, End of the Road, and Crisscross Jump. Was it 92?
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
Wow.
so we're going back there. So, I understand that in 92 you joined Fridays.
Yep.
So, what did you do before Fridays?
Well, I was part of the opening team for Euro Disney, or Disneyland Paris, is it called now? So that was my first bar job. So I arrived there at a pre-opening, sort of the Disney mocks, and I really loved it. I was in a nightclub with 4 cocktail bars, and I managed to pester the general manager. And then a week later, I flew out. And then we did the opening of Disney, which is where I heard about Fridays. They had a couple of people that were working there that had worked for Fridays in the UK, and they told me all about it. And they sort of said, if you want to become one of the best bartenders, you've got to go and work for them. So whilst I was at Disney, I turned 18, went from bar backing and started bartending, and sort of realised straight away. I mean, I'd not been to university, I hadn't done well at school. And I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. I just loved the whole thing about being behind the bar and that sort of presence, and I just fell in love with it really.
Well, you cleared one thing up because I think someone years ago said you was Mickey Mouse. So
I've had a few things said about me. But, I used to play pool with Mickey Mouse.
Really?
As all the characters, they built a village for all the staff lived. So when you'd come I worked in Festival Disney, and obviously then you turn right to the park, but everyone it was a mad opening because, people all around Europe were working there and everyone lived together, and it was party central. So yeah, I used to live with Tigger.
Oh, good.
And a girl that played Snow White.
Wow.
So it was bonkers really. So I mean, really, as soon as I found out, I mean, Disney training's good, but people just said, if you need to go to Friday. So, and at the time there was only one in central London, which was Covent Garden and stuff. So I learned a little bit at Disney, and then it came back. So my mum was living in Bath. So as soon as I got back, I jumped on a train. I've never been up to London. I was 18 years old, and I found Covent Garden, and I'd never been inside one. And it was quite a hot day, and I just walked in, and the doors opened, and it was absolutely packed, and I was just absolutely blown away. So I went to sit at the bar, but I wasn't old enough because you have to be 21.
Yeah.
So then I explained I want to apply for a job, but I mean the restaurant was absolutely buzzing. So I sat on point, and Nick Kamara served me. I don't really know him, but I remember, I ordered a Corona, and he kind of chucked the lime up over his shoulder, and it landed in the top.
Nice.
My jaw dropped, but I just couldn't believe it. I was sat in the middle of in that Covent Garden bar.
So Covent was Fareham. Where did Fareham fit into this?
Well, this is so. I basically, the story is I went up. I got the train back and forth to Covent Garden Fridays every day for 7 days, and applied every day, and they kept saying there's no positions. The bar manager was a guy called John Sheed, who I later saw. He saw me at the challenge final. We walked past each other because I pestered him for 7 days straight and got turned down 7 days straight. He walked past me, and I applied, and I had a trophy in my hand, so I won best flair, and he just went, oh fuck, bollocks, should have hired you. So that was quite a nice story. He was a great
That
guy,
is
and
cool.
ended up being my bar manager there years later. So yeah, I came back, applied 7 times at the bar, and then heard nothing. So I was a little bit kind of despondent, and I really kind of couldn't stop thinking about it. I took the menu home on the train, the compendium. It had 250 cocktails in, and I just couldn't believe that these guys knew them all. I didn't know there was a bigger manual that a lot of these guys knew as well. So the person I'd met in Disney worked for TGI Fridays in Fareham. So I kind of contacted them and said, I've been trying, applying. And they said, why don't you come down to Fareham? So I just got a train, didn't know where Fareham was. And as I walked in, it was their bartender challenge. So
Okay.
Jeff Meston, I watched Jeff Meston's first time, and that was when I really saw someone just so slick, just all over it. And I hadn't even realised that someone could be that good. So yeah, I sat at the bar at Fareham and watched their bartender challenge. Danny Howser,
Yeah.
Danny has.
Yeah.
So he was on it. I think, did he go to Lakeside or?
He did. He was
Basically?
my actual bar manager, and he went to the World Finals with me as well. So yeah,
Okay.
we had a few
So
beers together. Yeah.
yeah, top guy. And now while I worked with him at Haymarket, so Haymarket wasn't open.
Yeah.
I spent what's the Fareham challenge, went back to Bath, and then I phoned head office Fridays, and when Haymarket opened, they took all the #1 bartenders from around the country, and they opened up with a solid bar team. But so Fareham had lost quite a few people to Haymarket. I think Danny Hasgo went and became a dub there, so there was space. So she said, what about Fareham? And just coincidentally, I'd been there the day before, so applied, went out for an interview, got the train down, had my first interview, got the train home, came down the next day, went home, did my mocks, and I got the job. And they said, where do you live? And I said, well, I've got nowhere to live at the moment, but I'm living in Bath. So I got the job at Fareham. I had nowhere to live. But one of the bartenders put me up, and that was kind of the start of it, really.
So did you? So when you landed the job in Covent Garden, how did that come about?
Well, before Covent Garden, there was Haymarket. So did the challenge. So in '92, so Nick Mander came because he was, going around and judging them all. And then my first bartender challenge in '93, Freddie Donaldson came down.
So who trained you? Who actually trained you? Who took you under your wing?
I can't remember his surname actually. A guy called Chris. But Jeff, there was 2 master bartenders at Fareham, and then Jeff had just left. And he trained a guy called John Thurway, who was head bartender at Fareham. I mean, we only had 4. There was only 4 bartenders. We used to do like 9 shifts a week. It was kind of full on, but we're jumping around. So the '93 challenge came around, and Haymarket, had the strongest team, and they won everything apart from the Flair. So,
Of course.
but in between that, there was a semi-finals in Birmingham. It's where I met Steve and Reese, because Steve had been won Best Newcomer the year before, and Reese and Steve got to the finals. So that's where we sort of first met. And then Steve Dingley left Haymarket, and then I got a call. So Haymarket won everything at that challenge apart from what I'd won. And when I arrived, they asked me to put the plaque up. There was that post, wasn't there, on coffee? And that's where it all began, really. So, yeah.
So did you have any problems like studying all the drinks? You said it was 250 on just the menu itself. Did you have problems with the drink learning, or did you take? I mean, what did you do to revise?
Yeah, I really struggled. So I leaving school with no qualifications and stuff. It was the first time I'd really, had to really work on it, and it took me a couple of years really to get them all down. So I just had to walk around my bedroom shouting them out loud with the cards, just repeat. It was it was very hard work. So I didn't find it easy at all, and because I enjoyed the Flair side of stuff, which was quickly, when I joined,
So who inspired you on the? I mean, you took to Flair like right from the beginning. I mean, was there someone inspired you, or you just had a natural knack to it?
Well, When I was in Disney, there was a guy doing some flair, and I was like, okay, what's the hardest move? And he's kind of said, right, over the, I think it was over the shoulder, landing the bottle. But very quickly, I think, because I'm ambidextrous and used to play squash as a junior international, and I used to, like players, like tennis players, like Boris Becker, sort of, people that flared, with their body, and John McEnroe and all these sort of people. I wanted to do stuff differently to anyone else, so I really didn't. I wanted to do new stuff. But when I arrived at Fareham, my training was held back 3 months, had to bar back 3 months longer because I kept flaring, and it was like drummed into you straight away. Knowledge first, until you certify. You don't throw a thing around. So the bar team around me were quite good at keeping me in my place. And
I've always been told that the best bar backs make the best bartenders. So I can imagine, like, when I was in just Lakeside, which was just it was a busy bar, but I remember spot sweeping around the bar literally every 20 minutes because of cigarette butts. Did you have to go through that kind of scenario?
Yeah, my training. Yeah, I mean, I said I was supposed to start my bartender training, and there was a bartender called Andy Domini. Basically, the rest of the team said it's too early to put him on the bar. He's doesn't get it. He thinks he's just going to start his training. So they quickly, literally, because you're stuck in the fridges. It's so tight behind the bar, and they're putting their knee in your back, and I'm on a Saturday night on my own, and I'm absolutely knackered. And once they saw I really put my heart and soul into it and realised, stop flaring, get your head down, then I was allowed to start my training and stuff. So it's important that if you don't have good bar backs, the bar will go down, and so it affects everyone's shift. So
I think it's good as well to reflect on how important a bar back is, because like we talk about all over the bartenders are this, bartenders that, and like when I was always taught as a bar back, like work your way backwards from like what's the most important thing a bartender needs. So you went glass, ice, garnish, juice, spirits, and so on. So so the art of being a good bar back was to make sure that the bartender didn't need to ask you for anything. And if you get through the whole shift without a bartender not asking for anything, then you've done your job well. And I think that was like a really, really important thing to mention, because as I said, like without the support, a bartender would be running around like a headless chicken. But if he's got everything at his arm's length and everything's there, he can take a lot more money, and obviously the guest is obviously going to be a lot more happier. So bar backing is a skill in itself as well. So definitely,
absolutely,
should mention it. Definitely should be. And knowing that one of the best bartenders in the world was a bar back as well,
Danny has my bar back at Haymarket. Yeah, he was there for a few years. So it was I know we jumped around a bit, but yeah, when I arrived at Haymarket, I was the first transfer after Haymarket had opened with a full team. So being asked to go up there, and it was like going to Top Gun. It was just an amazing feeling. My first PM shift, Nick Mander was on. It was shift leader, Jules Andrews, Point, Jeff Meston, Sci-5, and I'm on coffee. Coffee was supposed to be the quietest station, but I think I took about 1,800 quid, which is more, probably double what I'd taken at Fareham, and I was absolutely exhausted. But working with these guys was, really good, and they really helped me because I was 19 when I arrived. Jules, I followed Jules for 2 days, just how to set up the service bar. It's all a little bit different, and then you're off really. But the first 3 months at Haymarket, I had nowhere to live, so I was sleeping on people's floors. And it was just every shift was so busy. It was absolutely, shattered. And then obviously you're going out with the nightlife. It got me in trouble a few times. I got suspended because I think I got in about 6 o'clock in the morning. And in those days, you used to get into the service bar for 7 because you had to cut 5 tubs of limes, 5 tubs of lemons, make 5 gallons of sweet and sour, 3 gallons of lime, 5 gallons of pina colada. But yeah, so I got suspended, and that really woke me up to don't mess this up, So I sort of lived like a monk, cleaned my act up, and you know, got my head in the books really. But yeah.
So it's like, so when you won the Flair, did you realise how? I mean, what was? Because obviously we talk about where you end up getting, you know, like with the elbow and everything else. So what was the thing that you was doing back then that made you win the
Well,
first Flair?
I think Nick Manley mentioned it because, which kind of ties in with when Freddie Donaldson came up from Mill. He's got a video. I did a stack. I think it was 3 columns glasses, 2, and then 2 cordials.
Yeah, cardio glass. Yeah.
And then I had it was a rocks, that's right. And I remember being a day shift. You had a lot of time on your hands during the daytime at Fareham. And I think I'd run up a speed rail because I was doing the, you know, cleaning the vents. And I thought, what if I ran down the other side and ran up the other side and did the whole of side 5 like a half pipe? And then if I go up and do 1 bottle through my leg, the vodka, it was a Black Russian I made with Finlandia at the time. So into the rocks glass, swiped it off and then cut off the road and then ran down the speed rail, ran all the way up and then came in with the Kahlua. And I had a baseball hat just for the finals. And as I jumped off, I'd spin the Black Russian through the air and then catch it in my hat. And that was kind of like one of the small things I did. So when Nick Mander went back to Haymarket, obviously people ask, you know, what's Fareham team like, whatever. So, and obviously Freddie had recorded it, and Freddie's recording was he didn't know where I was, and all you hear him is saying, "Where is he? Where is he?" I'm going up and down and just trying stuff, you know, rolling a bottle over my neck into the tin, and just seeing what was out there, and then trying to change it or just do new stuff. So it kind of made an impression, quite, you know, I think around Fridays, that there was somebody doing something, you know, different.
Yeah. I mean, like, I mean, how did you feel? I mean, you've only been on the scene about a year or so, and you just
well, not even. It wasn't even that. So, what have you seen the '93 video?
No, I haven't seen any of
It's
that.
a really good one. One that Jeff won, and Jules was second. So they were separated by half a point. That was such a strong. It's a really good. Yeah, it's a good video as well. The one before, I think, is one that Nick's was in. Was that Simply the Best?
Yeah.
Tina Turner. Yeah. But '93, they should be out there. It's a really good one. I think you could see on my face when it was in Birmingham, which is Good Fridays.
Of course, I mean, I've seen some of your pictures. Like, I always find it interesting because obviously Fridays was all about the hat represented your personality, and you've got some some unusual hats. I mean, you've got this leather one. What's the leather one? It's like a brown one you had on your head.
Oh, like a what do they call them? Baker boy caps, whatever.
Yeah, it's like an old-fashioned cap.
Yeah. You've got a picture of it. I can't remember what it's called. It's like a Peaky Blinder thing.
Peaky Blinders, yeah, that's what it's like.
That kind of style. So I had a military kind of beret, Stussy, black.
Okay.
But also, you know, I wanted a blue cap. But I was way off that, you know. And I think
berets seem to be quite popular. I mean, I see ones with Ray Wicks with a beret, and there's quite a few of them around. So wanted to wear that beret. It was a beret or but like a baseball cap, really, than anything else. But everything else looked quite similar. So I was just thought it might be.
Yeah, so I don't. Oh, you just cut out there. So
that's all right.
Yeah. So I don't know how it was hard to choose hats, wasn't it? So I don't know.
So you obviously, like, I was going through your thing and you sent me some nice pictures, and even just seeing the Beefeater gin, I was like, when you won the competition, you was given a Beefeater gin bottle. I think it was to do with the actual Europeans, was it?
Oh, the B. Leigh, that one.
Yeah, that's it.
No, that was when I beat one with Stephen Rees, and we sold so much that we all got our. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Don't worry. Yeah.
Oh, so that was separate to Fridays.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we've done like so we got like into your flaring again. So I mean, there's so many bits I want to pull up on, but in you were talking about drink flips, and there was one you said like in '95. I'm just trying to understand it because because when I spoke to Jules Andrews, he was saying when he done the competition, because was you sharing a place with Jules at the time?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was my flatmate in 93, 94.
Because he said when I spoke to him, he said night of the challenge, he go past your room and you see the light on, and he said like there was a sort of like if Leigh's studying, I should be studying kind of thing. So it was like a cat and mouse thing going on in the house, and he saw you practicing with two wine glasses. And at the time, he said he had no idea what you were planning or what you was doing with these wine glasses.
Right.
And
Yeah.
when you hear a story, sometimes it's hard to believe. Even now, it's still hard to believe. But he said that you flipped both drinks on your hand, or you threw them over your shoulder, and you
Yeah.
landed them. So what was it, over the shoulder, or was it just a double?
There was 3 parts to it. So one in each hand. Sorry.
Yeah.
2 in one hand. So they're sitting nicely with the cream and then, no, that's not right. Yes, it is. And then you sort of turn sideways.
Yeah.
You throw both of them over your shoulder.
Got it.
Yeah. And then you catch one in the separate hand. Then you bring it one over that way and one over that way. So they cross in the midair.
Whoa.
So you
That's good.
bring them both over. Then you cross. And then you I can't remember now. So yeah, over, over. And then, yeah, so you've landed them like that. And then you bring them both over. So,
That's impressive.
And then you catch.
He also said when you did it, you winked at him.
Oh, I can't remember the 90s much, but
Oh, okay. But it was
yeah.
quite funny because he's like, because when he said like that, I think that's just so Leigh Miller to actually do a wink at the end of a move. That's just so cool. So I was just like,
Right.
so,
Maybe, yeah. He's got
but then in
better.
when in '95, you said you tried a free glass flip, and obviously it didn't go too well. So what was that one?
Well, I think let's go back one. So I'd seen someone do the one flip on their hand, so I did that, but then I added in the one which came round. So no one ever done over the shoulder onto a hand before.
Okay.
It was 94. 95 was the double.
Yeah.
One I just spoke about. Which was 3 of them. So I think Freddie brought them on. And there was a little bit of I had taped the bottoms together of the 3 glasses. So he brought them on anyway, and I tried. I just didn't land it. Just tried. So they're on three white tall wine glasses, and then to flip it, and it just caught the edge. So I had a great routine. So that's yeah. And then I lost. So I lost that one. So which is a shame. But I won it 3 times. So and obviously the Tandem Flair was Steve 3 times.
Say, before I forget, let's go through that because I see like that was quite impressive. So I've got it written down here. So 3 times you won Best Flair Bartending. You won 3 times Tandem Champ 94, 95, 96. Of course, with Steve Locke. So again, to throw that in there as well. 2 times Covent Garden winner, which is quite, actually, I'm going to put my pen there because I want to talk about Covent Garden because it was the first time I went to a competition. And the first one I went to was Covent Garden. It's in '96. So I had my camcorder, which if some people seen it, it was like so annoying because I've never used a camcorder before. So
yeah, I noticed.
And
it was really dark, wasn't it?
And the battery went on me as well. And I'm like going, one of the best competitions going, and I'm there with a camera and the battery goes. I was like, this is not happening to me. So I was like, but the whole competition inspired me to obviously to go on.
It was a great heat. Yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, go on.
Sorry, I mean, if you take a step back, so when I joined Haymarket, there was Nick Mander, Jules Andrews, Jeff Meston, Ray Weeks, me, Steve, that 94 challenge was so strong. And then I think they did a clean sweep again, that year. But you compare to, Covent Garden was, had a lot, the bartenders there were a lot older. They had all the city guys. It was a bit, not as shiny. So if you sort of thought Haymarket was like, take that, Covent Garden was like the Rolling Stones. It was so different atmosphere. But then Steve and I, wanted to go a bit of traveling. So we went to South Africa. We bartended in Cape Town and did a bit of traveling with a backpack, and because lots of people were going to Australia traveling. So we were out of Fridays for good 7, 8, 9 months. But when we came back, then we joined Covent Garden, and we walked in, and Freddie Donaldson was up doing his test. So myself, Steve, Freddie, and Reece Oldfield, they were all at Covent Garden, with Roger Butler and stuff, and so that was really nice to sort of finish the career there, having Haymarket so different, Fareham so different.
Oh, don't worry, we've still got a lot to talk about with Friday still. So obviously I saw a picture with you with Freddie Donaldson, Roger Butler, obviously yourself, Steve Locke, and Annie Gillespie as well. So the picture you sent through. So obviously that was 5 master bartenders in one store. So I mean, because when I spoke to, I think it was when I spoke to Steve Dingley, he was like explaining that Covent Garden bar was completely different to any other bar he worked. So it was like what he says, like Rolling Stones. It was like, and we all knew that the ratio was 50-50, 50% food, 50% drink, which was unheard of. With Fridays, it's always 70-30. So what was it like? Was it people giving you their business account cards over the bar? What was it like?
Oh, I mean, it was the city guys would come in, and if one in their group, the X, if they had whoever had the best deal on the trading floor, or whatever, they would pay. So it was just black mixers, and but they would come in, and because they were power drinking, and they would just order 50 woo-woos, and they wanted it all stacked up, and then they'd order the apps menu twice, and then they just kept ordering and ordering. So it was. It was like the Wild West. I've never seen it like it. Whereas Haymarket was all tourists and, smaller groups were coming in. It was just bonkers. They were absolute animals. And obviously in those days, we were on commission. So I remember on my first service bar shift at Haymarket, I come from Fareham, which you're not earning much money at all. And then I just didn't even expect it. So I did an AM service bar, like a Friday, and I got like, £180 in tips, plus about £150 in commission, and then you got your wages. So, most shifts you're working, you're earning over £300, and you're 19, and it's just bonkers. It's just like, this is just, yeah. But you worked long hours in those days. You were doing like 2 back-to-back doubles and then an AM, plus you're going out and you're socializing, so you really are, you weigh about 7 stone, and you get used to it after a while. But at the beginning I just wasn't used to it, and all the guys are much older than me, but they all really looked after me, and and then you do the same when the other younger guys come through. Try and help them out, and they can sleep on your sofa till they get their feet get their feet sorted.
So we're talking about obviously a lot of flair, because obviously you've brought a lot of moves that even today is still being used. So of course in '96, was it? I mean, was that the first time we saw the elbow move, the actual bounce of the elbow?
Yeah, I remember that I used to practice it in Covent Garden service bar with the shutter down so no one could see. But I remember just the bruise on my arm. I think it took me a few days to crack. And then Freddie walked in, and it was coming up to near the challenge, and I said, "Fred, come here, I've got this." And then he shut the door, and the other bartenders came in and just did it, and then it sort of went silent, really. And then that sort of, can't remember how it came about. It was just the way my mind was working, always trying to find something different. You need something, a good beginning of your routine. Make sure you got something for the middle and save something for the end, and then in between those, you can, depending how wet your hands are, you need to freestyle it. But and I always try to these routines make sure I could do it on a Saturday night. So I didn't do a lot of the kind of juggly side of stuff. It was working flair and, and quite, tight around your body. So, it was, I wanted to make sure that you people wouldn't get annoyed if you're doing it on a Friday night because they're waiting too long. So my routines were quite short and snappy, really, I suppose. But so that was right. 96 it came out, so it was went down pretty well. 96 was won the Covent Garden heat for the second time. The year before, that was really strong heats, and then to go on and go for that run, and we won best bar and at Europeans in Madrid, which was a lot of fun. Madrid's a good place. And obviously Ray Weeks had won the Worlds the year before. So the moment with the Worlds being in the UK, I really didn't think that I would win it because it just hadn't been done. It normally went USA, UK, and in the early days. So I didn't know if politics was going to come into it. So I was just got my head down and hope for the best, really.
So on your, so most of your flair stuff, so the crushed ice on the ceiling, was that just all creative? That stuff you just came up with?
I can't remember. It was that within Steve and I's routine.
Yeah, with the tandem. So, because the funny thing is, it's like, because I was there in the crowd, you got to understand, George Michael, I can't remember what's the name of the song. What's it called? Fast Love, isn't it? Something? Fast
Love.
Yeah, so I remember like
Steve and I were camping it up.
Yeah, so I remember watching it. The funny thing is though, every time like Fast Love comes on the radio, I go 1996. All right.
I know.
You've actually taught me when it actually came out. So like,
there we go. Yeah, I think we won the Flair Tandem in '94 at Haymarket, and we used the cocktail song that they use in their routine, and then we used Fast Love, and then I think a lot of my routines were done to Don't Stop Till You Get Enough with Michael Jackson.
Good Michael, yeah.
I think so. It's just funny, isn't it? That sort of stuff. I get the same.
I think when you practice a Flair song, you get so sick of the song because you listen to it like 100 times, practicing to it, and you just go, God, I hate that song. So, but it's certainly imprinted with me anyway. So that's funny.
Yeah, certain songs can come on, you're like, because they didn't have many CDs in the store. Sometimes you'd end up playing the same CDs, actually in the. During the day shifts and stuff. So it always makes me smile.
Okay, so you obviously you won the so you went to Madrid, was it, to do the Europeans? Yeah. So I mean, was there? Did you feel pressured on that one, or did you think like because it could like end short? I mean, was it that if you didn't win the Europeans, you didn't go to the World?
Correct.
What happened there? Is that right?
Yeah. So I mean, quite a lot of pressure on. I mean, Ray Weeks was out there, but unbeknown to me, the whole of the Covent Garden bar team had all chipped in and paid for Steve Locke to come over. So they surprised me. So that was really nice because, even on our for best bartending, Steve and I used to bar back for each other, make sure we're all set up. Even though it was a competition. So when he walked in, it was nice to know that, he was there sort of making sure everything was all right. So I could just focus on it. And I didn't know what to expect, really. I obviously was quite confident in my own abilities, but suddenly, you're in a new bar and everything's slightly different. So it's a bit alien, felt a bit alien, but by that stage, you should, the people you're against, you should expect you going into the finals, into the front bar, that you're all level on points. That's the way I thought about it. So you should know your stuff, and it's all about bringing it together and who has the best front bar routine. So it went really well. It was I don't remember much of it. It's a bit of a blur, really, but I was quite confident. Had a great night in Madrid.
Got the result. So when you so was the World Finals was in Covent Garden again? Was it
Bayswater?
Oh, Bayswater. Okay.
Yeah, I think Jules had it yeah, Jules had the World Finals in Covent Garden. So yeah, I mean, it was nice to go to Madrid, and I'm not sure. I mean, you went out to the States. It must be such a different feeling. It was, I mean, lovely for me to, do it on home turf. We had a good turnout. There's only 4 of us in the finals. So it's nice to win it at home, but I know Jeff won it out in the States and stuff. And I remember I was sitting in Fareham Fridays, pre-shift having some food, and the news came through that Jeff, because he was from Fareham as well, that he'd won it. And I remember just thinking, wow, out of 6,000 bartenders that entered around the world, he's the best in the world. I remember thinking one day, I really want that to be me. And yeah, it's such a big thing, really. It's now you look back and reflect on that, reflect on it. It's it was an incredible few years.
But even when you became a master bartender, I mean, as you said, like you used to have problems with studying the drinks. I mean, was one of them ones where it was the passion to do better every day that made you strive to be a master?
Yeah, I think yeah, I'm proud of the fact that I managed to get the knowledge and keep it in, and it was just the bartenders you're working with, they just expected you to know your stuff just as well as any bartender walked onto your station. It was always, oh, who's this? And if you didn't know their name, the rest of the team were like, you're not doing your job. You should know everyone's name. You should know what pet they've got, where they went on holiday, what car they drive. Really the pressure. This was at Haymarket and Covent Garden, is your guests, your corner bar theory, and if anyone comes onto your station, or, if you have to go for a break, you need to introduce them, and the handshakes and stuff that we pushed for Be@One was literally, you've really got to get to know these people, because it was each day for an extra drink and extra commission, and it was just drummed into you, really.
Did you model yourself on anyone in the bar? Like, did you look up to anyone?
Yeah, I think when I got to, I mean, each bar team I've been with, so the Fareham was very different. They were a lot older, and I was so young, and they really kind of, their banter was really, really good, and I used to sit there and try and pick up on how they interacted with people, and get into Haymarket. As I said, you're working. My first evening shift was Nick Mander, Jules, Jeff, and it's just like, wow, I'm picking up stuff from each of them, and trying to, just find my own. How am I going to be seen? So yeah, I learned a lot from everyone I worked with, really, in each team, because everyone's got their own little things, their banter, their interaction, how you move, and things like that. So yeah, I mean, looking back, I thank everyone I worked with, really, for for being a part of it.
Cool. So you've just done the World Championships at Bayswater. They've just crowned you best bartender in the world. How do you feel about it? What's your feeling to that?
Yeah, but the government, I've gone over and over this in my head for years, and the winner is
Yeah,
and that goes okay. But he I can't remember his name. He was a really nice chap. He actually, because I went out to the Worlds the following year for Danny Harris to judge the technical side. But anyway, going back, but so Jules got second. I'm thinking it can't be me, because Ray won last year. I'm not, it's got to be America's then. So I was right. Make sure that you don't look sad or whatever, and you smile. You don't want to have a frown on your face not winning. But he just said, it was a big cheer. People started cheering my name after Jules got second. They were trying to quieten the crowd down, because it's it's a bit unfair on the other competitors. And he just said, "Leigh, come on down." And if you watched the video, I had my head down, so I didn't hear it. So I looked up, and everyone was going nuts, and I'm like, and then it kind of twigged, "Leigh, come on down." Right, so he didn't. It was a very strange feeling. So it was a bit of a shock. And that was it. So I think a few tears, and my mum and sister were there and stuff. So that was the first time my mum had ever seen me bartend. So that's not a bad time to come.
I think I tried to explain this the other like with the other guys that the difference between like winning a competition back in 96, 90s, like I would say when I like social media now is absolutely crazy. I never realized how different it was. I mean, when I won in 2002, it was like it meant a lot to me. I had a few, drinks afterwards, and it was great. When I won it this year, my phone didn't stop ringing for like 3 days. It was like social media is like crazy, and it's one of them
Yeah.
ones where it's just it's a different world now with social media, and it just shows you like what we was just saying with Flair used to use a videotape. Now you can just go on YouTube and study stuff and watch stuff. And it would have been quite amazing to see what you would have come up with if you had if you had YouTube back then. It'd be like quite scary, I reckon that would have been. So
Oh, it's bonkers, isn't it? So congratulations, by the way.
oh, thank you very much.
Winning
Thank
it
you.
twice.
Oh,
How long did you work at Fridays for then? Did you leave and come back or?
I joined in 96. I done my first challenge in 97, which was at Lakeside, and it, of course back then it was in store level, so I came third in that one, and then 98 got to the UK's, and ever since then I got into the UK's for 15 years or so.
Really?
So
You did it every year?
more or less. I think I
Wow.
had a break. I had a break when I won it in 2002. Well, as well. Well, I came second so many times. I lost count.
You did an
So
Andy Rose.
yeah, I done an Andy Rose. Yeah, so I was like going, is this ever going to happen? And then when it did, I think you can relate to this because you are married to Fridays. When the competition finishes, another one begins. So you sort of like you have a 2 or 3 days, just recovering from what you've just done, and then you go right. Okay, let's start thinking about next year. So well, after a while, doing it for 10 years or so, it gets to a stage where when you won it, it's like now's the time to have a break. So I had a break for a few years, went into management, and then all of a sudden, yeah, bought a business, and then got divorced, and then sold that, and then went back to Fridays because I wanted to do something that I was good at, but also that I wasn't stressed with work or anything. So it's just something you went to work, you made some drinks, you went home, and you could just chill. So that was about it. And then it sort of got back into me again. So although saying that, it took me 3 years to become a master, but it took me 10 years to win the UKs. It was just crazy. So
Right.
I didn't think it was going to happen, to be honest with you. It took me 17 years to reclaim the title.
Wow.
But it was
That's
really,
quite.
but as I messaged you that time, was because I really wanted to touch base because you just popped up on Facebook. And I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, I just wanted to say because when I went to 96 and I saw it in Covent Garden, to win the challenge in Covent Garden was just like the perfect dream for me because that's where I started really. The
yeah.
idea of actually becoming the next Lee Miller or something like that. So it was just like this was my dream come true, and to
Oh,
win the Flair as well because I won the best Bartending and the Flair.
yeah.
We didn't win Best Bar, we came second. So
Oh,
we were close. But we've won Best Bar a few times though, so that's been quite cool.
right.
So we missed out just a little bit, but at the same time, I didn't expect to win the Flair or Best Bartender maybe because I study hard. But to win the Flair was quite cool. So it's quite like a bit similar to yourself. I was because you don't see what's going on because you're at the back.
Yeah.
So when they called my name, I was congratulating a guy called Brian Sanderson because he won it the year before. So I'm looking at him, congratulating him
Oh,
before they called
really?
out the names, and then they called my name out, and I was
Right.
like, "Oh, this is surreal. This is not really real." So, but yeah, it was absolutely yeah. I can't explain how I felt. So, but
Yeah.
so you won the world finals. Get back to you because you're more important than me. So you
I
got
don't
you.
think so.
Oh, so you won the world.
Yeah.
Actually, on this, actually on here, yeah, you've won you won 95 World Flair. What was that about?
So Danny Fox and Tim Bacon. 'Cause
Yep,
Tim Bacon used to, was Friday's Comic Con, but he went up and obviously had the living rooms, and before that he had JW Johnson's.
yep.
So in those days, there was the China jump. Have you heard of the China
Yeah,
jump?
yeah. They'll wear
Green and white stripes.
shirts. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've got those in Hong Kong and Kuala Lumpur, but a lot of people will remember the England football team in '96. They went out there and they had the dentist chair and the China jump. So, doing laybacks with the box and that kind of stuff. So there was a kind of circuit from Planet Hollywoods to Fridays and jump and that kind of stuff. So they really started off the first, big competitions. So for their contact. So, you had, Australia involved, Asia, Americans they were invited, they didn't come over, but because I competed against Alan Mays, who'd won the Vegas Legends 5 times, I think, or something. So yeah, it was really good to go up there, and then they also did it. They opened a concept, Tim Baker did, called Via Vitas. So I think in '96 and '97, I didn't enter '96. World Flair because I'd just done the Fridays thing and I was knackered and I hadn't really done any routines. But then I entered in. I was actually a Fridays manager when I entered in '97. And then won it again. So, and in '98, obviously Steve and I and Reese.
Be at one.
Be at once. So what was I'm pleased about is obviously I did my masters in 9 days. It would have been 7, but your evaluations. But the fact is, it's doing your masters is just about you should know all your black and white knowledge. Really, it comes into play, after your four tests. But your four evaluations were the ones where you bring it all together. So lots of people say, I've done the test, but I've not done the rest of it. But the tests are just the tests, and you bring it together that way. So and I had 4 master bartenders watching me do my certification. So so I was really pleased with that. But I think the most important thing is obviously winning best bartender, and then and having won a couple of world flair as well. So it's nice to have both. Some people, everyone's different. Some people are got better knowledge, not so good flair, or vice versa, or whatever. So I really wanted to make sure it was the whole package, really. And so it was quite a good few years, and then doing the dream, which is opening your own bar, and then Steve, myself, and Reese, we opened 37 of them. So
we'll go on to that in a minute. So because we're nearly through the Friday stuff. So so you done obviously this TV program called You Bet. So how did that come about? Was that after?
Well, I've done a few. I did Richard and Judy. Which was funny. I had to go on and make tequila cocktails, and when I arrived, they obviously that Richard and Judy off camera they really bicker, so it really quite awkward when you sat next to them. But when I arrived and I went to the dressing room, they didn't want me to wear red and white stripes, but they dressed me up because it was tequila cocktails in this
Mexican
they gave me a big Mexican hat and this sort of stuff, and I refused a poncho, and I refused to wear it. So then they gave me this black outfit where literally the first button was here, so I had all my chest out. I had no chest hair because I was so young. But yeah, so that was kind of the first thing, and then I did a show called Talking Telephone Numbers with Richard Schofield. Which was that was a lot of fun, and then for that I was practicing in the Blue Peter Garden, which is they weren't filming, but I had to go and practice somewhere. So to actually go and see the garden, which is tiny, absolutely tiny. Just sort of practicing on the bank, the flair. So I really enjoyed that, and then obviously You Bet with Ainsley Harriott and Trevor Brooking and.
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. That was good.
That was all right. That was all one take live. It had to be live because they're betting on it, aren't they? So so that was enjoyable. And then did Sky News when I won the Worlds. Then I got put in a car and I got taken to the Sky Studios, where I actually did. I think the guy was called Bob Friend. He was the main anchor for Sky News, and then had to make him some drinks and stuff. And it was nice, really. I mean, it was how been lucky. This has all been lucky enough to work in Hong Kong, New York, Singapore, Dubai, Cape Town. Arrived out in Asia, and they just they go nuts for it, and it would be interesting to see if they had the social media then. It really got looked after, and I've been able to see parts of the world for free, doing a job I loved. So that's a
Because
really
I
a lot
remember,
of fun.
because I remember doing this. This is one of the best stories about you. We done a program called Cocktail Challenge. Do you remember this?
I think I've seen it now because
Yeah, Paul Mason, I think, was organising it at the time, and it was like to just so for the viewers know what his cocktail challenge was there was three celebrities. I think there was a magician. I can't remember his name. There was Baz, who's like a mobile bar thing, and
yeah.
they picked a shot glass up, and you had to
All right.
make the cocktail, whatever it was. But they were all Fridays cocktails. And I remember because the people that were in the competition were like was amazing. Nicholas St. John, yourself, I was in it, and there was just Roadhouse bartenders were in it, and it was so cool. And I remember you, and this is just typical Leigh Miller style. You had to make a Singapore sling. Do you remember this? You pulled up the
Go on.
Singapore sling and you're flaring it, and you're making it to the Friday spec. So you're doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And Baz turns around to you and goes, "Well, the original Singapore sling was invented in Raffles in Hong Kong, blah 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 blah, and it's made with Benedictine and da 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 da." And so he's sort of talking down to you a little bit, and then someone says like, "Weren't you world champion?" And you turn around and went twice, and I just was like in stitches, going, "You just got burnt." The timing was just brilliant. It was absolutely
Right.
awesome. So
I'm
that was one of my highlights of you working. It was just quite funny to
oh,
watch.
I'm glad you remember this stuff. 'Cause, yeah. No, I do remember the show. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that was quite funny. That was absolutely awesome. So let's have a look at what other stuff I got on here. So obviously, you've done all this thing. Yep, you've done that. That was good. Looked up best. Yeah. So you just won the world because I just wanted to make sure I do all the Friday stuff first before we go into Be at One because there's so much to talk about there as well. So you just won that. Yep, that's all good. So so Be at One. So who come up with the name Be at
hang
One?
on. Can I just say,
Yeah.
thinking with the worlds, you know, when the world's on a Friday, on a Sunday, and then on the Monday you're back to work and you're putting the mats in. It's a real big bump down to earth. You
Yeah.
know, you've just gone from up here to bang, and then you're serving someone on a Monday afternoon that just, you know, doesn't know what you did yesterday. And if you tell them, oh, you know, won world championship, they go, what for? You know, bartending, and it's in our world, it's quite a big deal, but outside, some people don't. It doesn't impress them. But yeah, it was just the fact that you're putting the mats in and cutting fruit, and it's all back to normal very quickly. So once it's over, it's over. So
Because you
it's
did go,
only
because you went into management after that as well, didn't you? So you went into
yeah.
management.
Well, myself, Stephen Reese did, and it was a real shock because
Mm.
you know you're getting £16,000 a year, and you were earning probably 40 or
Yeah.
50 as a bartender. So it was a real. We weren't there very long, about 6 months, and we just felt, yeah, it was tough being in central London on those
Was there
occasions.
like an ongoing plan to go and buy your own bar at that time?
No, I mean every bartender kind of talks about it,
Talked about it,
and we at the time in those days it was kind of you needed to go into management and you need to at least become like an AGM, whatever, to learn the business or a
yeah.
GM, and then you do it. But we started it, and we just thought, you know, for us, well, if we can't open a busy bar, then who can?
Mm.
So we, well, Reese, the phrase Reese uses, I don't know if you can, was you either shit or get off the pot. Stop
Yeah.
talking about it. Let's just do it. So, you know, it was, we left Fridays in 97. In the 97, I went to work for Stringfellows.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Steve and Reese worked together in the O Bar in Soho.
Okay.
So, I mean, coming from where we'd been working, you go to other bars and they just don't have the proper setup, and it's quite frustrating. And then they're not as clean, and they don't have, you know, they don't fix the broken equipment. And
Yeah.
so we weren't really enjoying ourselves. And that's when we all said, right, let's do it. So we got a £9,000 car loan each, lied to the banks. So we were buying Renault Clios because Reese had a Renault Clio. We called it the silver bullet when because he was still living with us, but
Yeah.
going to Lakeside about 200 miles an hour and then finishing the shift and coming back. So yeah, I mean,
He was my bar manager at that time. He was.
was it?
Yeah.
What was he like as a manager? Because I never got to see him. Was he all right?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good. It was like lovely. Just I think because at the time I was applying for my masters, and he was around about the same time, and he was up for me doing it, and it was just a great guy. So like, it was really good as well because like this, for instance, you see bartenders from a distance, and you know how great they are. And then you start having conversations with them, and you can build a rapport with them. But at the beginning, you're just this guy in a crowd watching this, great person that you want to inspires you to obviously become a great bartender. So you sort of like with Reese was exactly the same. It was just nice because I do believe you're only as good as the people around you. And if you've got a good, strong, like I believe you probably agree that if it wasn't for the guys around you like Freddie and everything else to push you, you probably wouldn't have inspired to do great stuff that you end up doing. So, it was just actually.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, but yeah, definitely.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Sorry, you cut out there. Sorry, did I miss
Can you hear me now? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So who came up with Be at One then?
Well, I mean, it's kind of all of us really. I think we had no money at all, and we had got the car loan, and we found this vegetarian Indian restaurant on Battersea Rise. It could hold 120 people. It's tiny. And we did it ourselves. We split the stereo behind the bar, and we sanded the floors, painted the walls. We were absolutely knackered. We hadn't thought of a name yet. A few things have been thrown around. And we actually took a day off. We went to the local gym and had a sauna and steam and that kind of stuff. I think it just came up when we were in the half naked in the sauna. It was like, I think Reese had wanted to come up with the name Bar None, as in this is the best bar none. And All Bar One had just opened, I think. Now they had trademark stuff. We just wanted to open the sort of bar that we wanted to drink in, which is, it doesn't matter if you're wearing a suit or a pair of shorts and flip-flops. It was about your attitude, listening to classic album tracks, sort of. And then I remember saying it, be at one with yourself, having no attitude, or just a place to come in, drink cocktails 7 days a week. Because in those days, most people only would go and drink cocktails on a special night or on a weekend.
Yeah.
Never on a school night. So for us to be dropping tunes, the late 90s, it was all about DJs in the bars and just repetitive music. And we were dropping Rolling Stones and Beatles and Club Tropicana and shaking hands and actually having a party on a Monday, Sunday night, Tuesday night, when everyone else was quiet. We were creating that party atmosphere and had to educate people actually to drink cocktails every day.
Did you find it easy to step away from the bar, or was you on the bar at the time, or how did you manage it?
Yeah, I mean, for the first 10 years, I was still bartending and training bartenders at Be at One.
Oh, okay.
We had it for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. Even when we got to our 10th site, it was, a lot of hours. And for the first few years, the first year we opened, we didn't have any staff. And we were literally, clean. We didn't have cleaners, so we'd have an amazing shift and then go downstairs and clean the toilets and clean the urinals and stuff. So, I mean, it was still at the coalface for many, many years. And even after that, the building up to selling Be at One, I'd have to do sort of between, sometimes I'd visit 10 Be at Ones in a night in the London area to keep on top of the standards, to make sure that bartenders knew that you might be popping in.
Because I read, I think it was a few months ago that the outlay was about 60 grand to do the first one, and then you generated like 50 grand's worth of profit.
It would have been, I mean, but it would have been about 100, but because we were drinking and having a great time every day.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't have, I don't think we had a day off for 9 months, whatever. But yeah, I mean, we'd break the bar down. In those days, the bars used to shut at 11 o'clock, and then there would be a few of our friends back, and then we would just have a party. And obviously, we had to. We did employ staff and train them up. They used to drink Jaeger with us and drink the Epus, and Yeah, so when we got bigger, we realised we had to sort of change the culture a bit. I think people were upset, but they got over it, because at Fridays you were never allowed to drink, and we had a great shifts. But yeah, I mean, we obviously, understandably, when we opened, we partied hard and enjoyed having a bar. So the plan was never straight away to open a few more, but a year later we opened our second, and a year after that our third. So, but it was really, really tough times, because we didn't have a lot of cash.
So right at the beginning, I mean, so obviously you got the Fridays background where you got 250 drinks on the menu, and Be at One is very similar to that. So I mean, if anything, I think like I want to give you a compliment here as well, because I know like
Another one.
another one, but I was like I remember from a distance what you was going through to a degree, because you just won the world finals and everything else, went into management, but to like with Fridays, you're either Fridays or you're not Fridays. It's that simple. So to do something new is a big, big challenge and everything else. And my compliment was this: a few years ago in head office, we was like talking about stuff, and where before, like your name came up a few times and everything else, but 10 years, 20 years later, Fridays are looking at Be at One as a guide. So they're looking at your drinks, they're looking at how you're doing things. Where you've like a lot of people go, oh, Be at One is a Fridays back in the day. Now Fridays are looking at you, trying to use you as a guide to where they want to be from the past. So it's quite interesting, and I've been quite into a lot of your Be at Ones, and some of your drinks are amazing, absolutely amazing as well. So I mean, that is a compliment, and there's not even they're very, very different to Friday's drinks. You've took on the classics are in there, obviously, but you've got a different spin to it. So did you just like when you first opened, did you go with like what you knew best at the beginning, and then you just added to it? Yeah.
Well, I mean, when Battersea opened in May '98, there was leaks in the ceiling. We didn't have any drinking shelves. There was no sign outside, no awning. We painted it green first, and then it looked like a kebab shop, so we painted it blue. I mean, we opened during the day initially, but it just looked awful. There was bits of cement patching. It had a nice parquet flooring, but there was bits missing, and we had one single men's sit-down toilet and one single woman's. And the cocktail menu, which is what I was going to get to, was just a laminated sheet on purple paper with 50 cocktails.
Okay.
Because we couldn't afford to get any printing done. So we started with the top 50 sort of Fridays cocktails. And then when we managed to get a little bit of cash in, then we moved to the book and slowly sort of built that up, really. So for the first few years, it was very Fridays-ish, I suppose. We tried to take everything we learned from Fridays and tried to make it better. Plus, the people that were bartending owned the bar, so it was a different kind of feel that we could do what we want, kick people out, or so people that were coming in, knew they were being served by the owners. So it's quite different to how it was probably quite a different experience for the guests as well. And then we looked at when the sort of mixology thing kicked off. We tried to look at what other people were doing, that were winning accolades, tried to look at their drink and see how we can make it faster, because that's the biggest problem when you go into some of the style bars. You order 4 drinks and you're still waiting half an hour later. And if you've been to Battersea, there's 2 stations and people want their drinks like that when they finish work.
Yeah,
it's such a small bar.
Is that where you came up with the idea of 60 seconds cocktail, 30 seconds change?
No, that's Fridays. That's original Fridays.
So 60, 30, 60,
60 seconds to make a drink. I forgot now. Setting up a tab and then giving their change back. Yeah, that kind of thing. So that's, you try and
to emphasize that
making 6 drinks, sort of thing. So
but what I found was quite interesting is like, because you sort of went down you've gone down the same path that Fridays went, where you've gone some stores, because you went to Wandsworth and it wasn't It was just the overheads was just terrible, wasn't it?
Well, no, I mean, so Battersea in those days, Battersea Rise and stuff. There's big houses, lots of money, but everyone was kind of, our target market was sort of first job out of university to first child. That's catch people, disposable cash before the children come along, and they're out sort of 6 nights a week. But you know, Battersea suddenly became so expensive to live and so popular that it was kind of spreading, you know, across to Balham. But before that was sort of Wandsworth way, the Tonsleys. But you know, we a year later, you know, we took a building that was 5 times the size, 3 times the rent, and actually did a restaurant as well.
Yeah.
And none of us were chefs. We had a great chef, a guy called Bonza, a New Zealand guy. But then when the chef leaves, whatever, you're absolutely screwed, and you need to sell a lot of food to make money.
But you was doing you was doing about 80 hours a week work, was you?
Oh my God, maybe more. I don't know. It was all a bit. It was so stressful because, well, the opening night at Oldjock Road in Wandsworth.
Yeah.
I think recently had worked out that actually our break even was completely different. So straight away we were like, we're not going to be able to make this work. So we had to sort of very quickly try and make the building smaller, got rid of the kitchen, stopped doing food. And then, you know, we were really struggling because Battersea Rise was the guarantor for the lease for Oldjock Road. So if Oldjock Road had gone bust, we'd have lost Battersea as well. So, I mean, every shift you'd have to walk on, pretend there's nothing wrong, smile, and really try and build the sales up. So it's in that period, we found Richmond, which was the same size as Battersea. We bought it for £10,000. It was the first ever Café Rouge.
Okay.
So, and we quickly realised that, bang, this went off like a frog in a sock. So we then had, Steve says, we expanded out the problem. So we had Battersea making money, small bar, no food. Richmond, small bar, absolutely making money, and this big site that had a restaurant in it, which we stopped. So it took us 3 years to sell Oldjock Road. I think 2.5, 3 years. But we kept it open. We had to keep it open, and it wasn't making any money. Some weeks losing money, but the other 2 sites. So it really made us realise. So do one thing, do it well, stick to what you know.
Yeah, because I've got like a quote that in 2001 you sold the Wandsworth one, and then Steve, I quote Steve, he said, "One of the happiest days of my life." So,
well, Steve and Reese were away; they were abroad. I think we'd just sort of taken a holiday, and I had to meet the woman. I had a little Vespa at the time, and it was a rainy. I don't know what day it was. Say Monday, rainy morning, cold, rainy, and I met her. You know, we done the deal. She'd not been in hospitality. She's just like lots of people. I want to open a bar, or I want to open a restaurant. And I remember handing over the keys. So they were away on my own, and then she started to cry because she said, "I don't know what to do now." So I said, "Right, well, go. These are the meters. You need to get your bills changed over the phone." Yeah. And I remember just getting on my Vespa. It was absolutely hoofing with rain. I remember the stress that it caused for, you know, and what we'd been through. We were still, you know, owned 3 bars, earning no money. When we opened B1, we were paying ourselves £75 a week. And some weeks we didn't pay ourselves because we pay the suppliers.
Yeah.
So finally, getting Oldjock Road off, you know, away from us. I remember I actually wheelied accidentally down the street on my Vespa, just because it was the happiest day of my life. And I didn't have Stephen Reeves to share it with because they were abroad sunning themselves.
Because the interesting thing is that because I've had my own business as well, not on the scale that you've had, but I think a lot of people don't understand what goes on behind the scenes, you know, like the management, the actual rent rates and stuff like that. And did it make you look at businesses in a different light? So when you walk past like Haymarket, TGI Fridays, you'll go, the rent on that must be like absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a very good point. You know, Haymarket, Covent Garden would never make any money because they're rents. So they were like flagships, but they're like, you know, lost leaders. So it's I mean, you have to learn on your feet, and we learned, as I said, you know, rather than going deeper into management, you know, we learned as we went along. and I think the three of us were have such different strengths. So whereas I was doing a lot of the bar training, and Steve was doing management training and front of house stuff, and Reese was more the back of house, paying people, computers, electrics, so between us, we all brought something that to the table, and that's why it worked so well. Because if two of you are down, there's always one of you are up, and you can sort of feed off each other. And then from the word go, really, we said, listen, if there's anything, if you've annoyed me, or never let things fester, so you always have everything out. So have it out, and then go for a pint. It's like a relationship. People say don't go into business with your friends, but we always, we had some tough times, but we always had it out. And it's like a marriage. If one of you stops communicating, stops talking, then that's when it breaks down. And I think we're quite proud of the fact that now we still meet up, go for a beer, and we did something actually, we lived the dream. 3 bartenders opening 37 bars. We started with a £9,000 car loan each and sold it for £50 million during Brexit, where most of our staff are from Europe. That was stressful. So that was amazing. So keep advice out there, keep communicating. And if the person you're with or your business partner pisses you off, have it out straight away, and then go for a pint.
Yeah,
it'd save your business.
Was that it? 50 million? Is that it?
Well, yeah. Well, David Cameron, he called it, and it should have been 60. We were literally closing in, and the deal fell over. Well, I think it knocked 20 million off our price, and then we managed to get it back up. So selling.
I always wanted to quote, from Cocktail the movie, from bartender to billionaire, but
sorry.
You was my closest hope.
Well, yeah, and I mean that will end.
Still time.
I mean, look at it now, though, Rob. How lucky we were. We didn't get the price we wanted, but it's an amazing thing. And 20 years, and we had a great management team, and I'd like to thank everyone that was involved at Beer One. Everyone played their part on creating such a something amazing, really, that hadn't been done before. But if it happened now, I know, without Beer One, I trained. There'd be no cocktail club, no adventure, no 55. They all came through us. What they must be going through. With the COVID is, horrendous, really. So good timing for us, really, because these days of building up a big chain like that now, people, I think private equity stuff, maybe a bit wary of buying stuff because, lots of times they've had their fingers burnt, and I don't think we're going to see big numbers like that again for a long time.
Okay. So in 2004, you bought Covent Garden, BL1.
Yeah, well, a bit romantically, but the area of Covent Garden that is next to the Lion King Theatre Lyceum was just theatre district. So in our head, Covent Garden Fridays, it used to be busy, but that's a few roads over. And when you walk around London, you sort of tend to go the same routes that you've always gone. There's some streets you just never go down. So we opened Beer One, Covent Garden, Saturday night. There's 2 people in there. The area is dead because people used to only go there to use, theatre land.
Yeah.
Now it's completely different. Now that area is bonkers. But so we were making no money there. It was just dead. And I remember having the meeting with the boys saying, we need to call it here. We need to say, if this hasn't picked up by such a date, we're going to sell it. And it was quite funny. We kept pushing it, and then it popped, and then the sales jumped. And
is that down to the because 2007 you got the late night drinking hours? Was that also helped?
Yeah, all that helped, and kept plucking away. Really, you build your business one guest at a time, and we just shook hands, kissed babies, and just people would come to see a show. I remember bartending. There was a couple came to see the Lion King, and the bar was just going off. So they came down from north, and I was bartending them, and they didn't actually go, and they stayed on my station, and the bartenders I've been training are working next to me, Basically, it's the siege mentality I try to sort of teach them. You know, anyone that comes in, they shouldn't want to leave. So we start the shift, nobody leaves. We keep these people in here, and we just blow them away, and we talk to them, and we just show them the time of their lives 7 nights a week. And that's how you built the business, really. And then the reputation goes around, what a great bar. And in the summer you can stand outside, and you know, so yeah, every bit when we've done, we've tried to keep that, you know, really instill that, you know, anyone that comes in, you just talk to them and just make them smile and just show them amazing time, so they don't want to go for their meal or go and see their show. Or if they do, they come back, you know, especially in central London. You know, the tourists that might be there for the weekends, you want to make sure that your bar is their local, because they will come in, come for a drink, love it, and think, well, we should really have a wander around Covent Garden. You know, and 9 times out of 10, they'll end up coming back saying the other service in the bars wasn't very good. And then that's how you make your regulars.
Did you, I mean, like, did you ever get to a stage where you went like 20, that's enough, or did you just want to just keep on seeing how far you could keep just going, opening up?
I think the goalposts changed for us. At certain times we thought if we built it up so big, we'd sell it and we'd be happy with X figure. But I think when it all changed for us is private equity had been, you know, had been sniffing around, and we'd kind of gone through that process of talking to private equity investors, and eventually we sold a minority stake to Piper, who only specialise in specific brands.
Is this like Pernod Ricard to UK and stuff like that?
No, this is Piper private equity. You know, they've done things like Bowden's clothing, or All Bar Brown swimming stuff, or Diamonds, or Bottle Green, and they've done, you know, some stuff in the restaurant side of things. But they came to us and sold a minority stake, and it was when we were opening a bar in the city, Monument.
Is it on Monument one? Yeah.
Yeah, and actually it was really expensive, fit out and stuff, and you know, but we knew it's on 2 floors.
Yeah.
We actually things were so tight that we didn't have the money to pay the builders. You know, we would have worked it out. We'd work with them, but doing the private equity deal and still being major shareholders, and gave us a war chest that we could then go and find better sites, and actually speed the roll up a bit quicker, and get good advice about, you know, how many we're going to need before we could, you know, build up for a sale, which is around about 30-ish, you know, for us. Yeah.
So when 2010, before we went into, because 2011 was when Piper came on, but 2010 you did Shoreditch, but you did a different decor. What was the reason behind the decor?
Well, Shoreditch was uber cool, and they don't like chains. So, you know, we went in and completely, you know, the designers were using it. The brief was like the New York meatpacking district. So outside it's white tiles.
Okay.
We had a neon logo, which was the old logo, which is the B, computer out and one. But we got rid of that because it's like an internet kind of computer shop.
Yeah.
So that's when we changed to the BE, AT, ONE, that kind of stuff. So yeah, so what the idea is so it looks nothing like a Beer One, because there's a Beer One down the road in Liverpool Street, blue and gold.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody to walk, you know, past this new cocktail bar and think it's a chain. But once they're inside and they've, you know, had a great cocktail, got some great service, when they find out it's a chain, it's too late. So that was the kind of, you know, the way we approached it is good service, dropping some cracking tunes, and then having some great drinks. Actually, this is all right, because a lot of people were like, it's a chain, I'm not going to go in because I'm too cool.
So like, I don't know, going on what there's in front of me. So Piper gave you, well, 8 million backing to actually expand outside of London. So was this like an exciting project that you was all on board with?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously Steve, that's what restarted at Fridays in Birmingham. Steve was at Kingston and I was at Fareham, and you know, we all came together. So you know, like when we went, I'd grown up in Bristol, so when we opened in Bristol and you go to these areas, but what you want to do is kind of cluster them. So it was exciting. It's quite scary, and we learned a lot about what not to do, what to do. So we'd open Bristol, Bath, Cardiff, Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, and that kind of stuff. So it was a testament to the strength of our management team, really, that to just go into these areas and make sure you come into these areas the right way, not like a London brand. Look at us, going up north, especially. We'd go up there myself, Stephen Rees. We'd find the sites. We'd go around the bars and making sure that we get to know the bar managers or bartenders. And so when we did arrive there and open up, you bring them in and they want to have you there. So I think a lot of sometimes brands or chains made that mistake bar wise of thinking they're too cool and but you've got to come in the right way, so to make the locals fall in love with you, really.
So did you used to I think did you used to go back into Fridays at some stage and just see the locals, and if you sit on the bar and just reminisce?
Well, no, I mean, I had kids, so I used to take the Fridays, take them in. So for a few years, I still got known and I still knew people, worked in, and you'd always get, a nice family welcome. So, and obviously then was going around the country finding sites. Myself, Stephen Rees used to pop in and sit at the bar. But then I think you look like something out of Star Trek when they did the step change, gone from looking like dressed as a deck chair to Star Trek. And they moved the bar from the middle, put it on each side, which the bar was always the engine room, and made it lighter and brighter. And for me, I think they've started to make Fridays back to the original, which was warm and red and amber lights, and that kind of red on people, so make sure they look like they've got suntan and that kind of stuff. And I didn't like the way it went, really. It went just putting the bar in the side and making it all about.
I think you can relate to change, though, because obviously when you're running a business, if you don't change, then you get left behind, kind of thing. So I mean, like as you said, mixology came on board, and if you don't do a mojito behind your bar, then you're not really a bar, and so on. So change is obviously going to be, whether you get it right is the big question. So I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
It's actually understanding it. So so obviously, like in 2016, you celebrated 18 years in Nottingham.
Yes, we
Was it
did.
Nottingham? With the
I can still feel
32nd.
the hangover.
Still got it. So that was your 32nd be at one. That's I mean, obviously, when this came around, did you feel like, not that you've made it, but it's a big, I mean, 32 stores, 18 years later, did you just sit there and go, God, that went quick?
It didn't go quick.
It didn't go quick. It's hard.
But something we learned at Fridays was success syndrome. Did you have those in your theories?
Yep.
So I mean, it was always sort of, you're only as good as your last shift, and I think for us it was great. By that stage, we were more brand guardians. We had such a strong management team. Kind of our roles have changed quite a lot, because when you do a private equity deal, they really want to be in for 5 years and then sell it on. So we get it to 30, and whoever buys us, they'll take it to 60, and then they need to know who they're going to sell it to next to take it to 90 sites. So that's normally the way it works.
Yeah.
I think those days have changed, really, because they've kind of realized that, if you've got a chain, 7 different restaurants that move it into areas that it's unsustainable. Maybe on the weekend it might be busy, but during the week, some areas just can't handle all these chains of restaurants and that kind of stuff. So, so to answer your question, no, it's not a nice feeling when we've got the opening so right, and it was smooth, and all the people that work for us behind the scenes and head office and stuff, and making the training team, making sure that we opened. And every opening on the first night, we always said it should feel like we've been open 6 months. We've done the mocks, we've got all the training completely right. It shouldn't feel like an opening night, because most opening nights in bars and stuff are just everyone's running around like headless chickens, and they run out of ice and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You must have been to bar openings We really made sure that it was smooth, relaxed. Bit of Swan Theory. So it was always a good feeling when they opened, and people were absolutely loving it. You'd go to Nottingham, say, or Brighton, and the locals that we employed go, we found this bar where the equipment and the setup is absolutely perfect, and there's so much for us to learn, and people used to love it. Used to get really that same thing at joining Fridays in the 80s or 90s.
So is that your like your mentor? Because your mentors, I'll say, because Steve Locke quoted work at guests at each time. So one guest is one guest at each time. So you deal with
you build your business one guest at a time, basically.
That's it,
kind of and that's all you can do when you're opening an area. One of the biggest things for us is 90-day theory.
Okay.
You still have that?
Yeah.
So when you so I don't know how much has changed, because even that barman you sent me, they had all the names changed and dates and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I know.
I don't know what you got, what you had left, but so with it, so you open in Liverpool within 90 days. Most people will have probably stuck their head in to find out what's it all about. Or if you walk down, where you live, and there's a pub that might open, and you might be going past it for 2 months, but you finally managed to get in and check it out. So building your business, it very rarely just goes off like a frog in a sock straight away. Yeah. So you've got to make sure that all the bartenders know that, you've all got to do your bit to make sure, shake hands, get people's names, and then within 90 days, you should hopefully then see another jump in sales and so on and so forth, and the bars at maturity within 2 years, that kind of thing. So we really try to train the bartenders and let them sort of act. If this was your business, how would you be acting on shift? That ownership theory is so important.
Did you see yourself rolling, like when you opened the business, was you using Fridays theories when you was doing your training, or did you invent some of your own? Did you invent any of your own?
I can't remember what we invented, but it was weird because after we sold the business, I moved to Costa Rica, and it took me about 7 months to decompress, because you're all, for 20 years you're building something and worrying about this and worrying about that, and even right up to the last minute, obviously Brexit was called, no private equity. We had 16 private equity companies had come and taken a look to buy us off Piper as well, and they were like, no one wanted to do anything because they didn't know what was going to happen with Brexit. And if 80% of your staff are all from Europe, we were so close. And I remember the meeting when Stephen Reese and myself were like, the management team, all right, we could be back in for another 5 years. I had one foot on the beach thinking about the sale. But anyway, so I'm in Costa Rica, looking back, thinking, it took a while for me to learn to relax. And now I can walk into other people's bars and stuff, and I know what's wrong straight away, but it doesn't wind me up.
But you can relate to it. I think that's the big difference. I think I always remember years ago, it's like you have to experience like something like this to have an opinion. It's like when people go, "Oh, I'll do this, I'll do that." Until you've done it, you really haven't got an opinion, because at least then you can go, "I understand why they're working from a laminated menu." It's because they're trying to keep the cost low and things like this. But from someone else's point of view, will walk in and go, they haven't got this, they haven't got that. But you could relate to that. You could go, well, do you remember Battersea back when we used to have like a green front instead of a blue front? And, so I think it's something that you grow with, but also it's one of them ones where you can relate to. So you can look at a business with a different pair of eyes as you had when you was a bartender. So I think when a bartender looks out, an owner looks in. I think that's the difference. So he sees it from a distance, where a bartender's just got his blinkers on and just sees the next guest walking up to the bar, where an owner sees the back door, the front door, the roof, the flooring. He sees the whole, that makes the actual bar itself. So that is got a
picture,
So anyway,
I think,
go on.
You just remind, because when we opened Battersea, we didn't even have any glass racks to put the glass ones. We had brass ones made eventually, but we had two stations And then we had a big metal colander from a kitchen,
Yeah.
and that rested in between the two stations. And then we had a bucket on the floor, and then that was the crushed ice station. That was your daiquiri station. But we didn't have crushed ice machines in those days. Well, B1 didn't.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
had this little hand countertop. It's about this big, and you put a scoop of cubed ice, and then you push this arm down, and then some crushed ice would come out the bottom. So you'd have to run down and go, run upstairs with a bucket and pour it on a colander, and then obviously the colander would let the water drain off into a bucket, and you're like,
Right.
it was just all these flashbacks of just having no money, no equipment.
And at that
really,
time, the annoying thing is that's when mojitos came on the menu as well. So
oh my god, yeah. But we used to do a silver Mercedes. I think we called it something else, but we couldn't get orange sherbet, so we'd have to go to Asda and buy orange lollipops. So
oh way.
and then you'd be stood over the blender cutting the orange sherbet from the.
Whose idea was that?
I can't remember. We just you just try and work it out, don't you? I
Yeah.
remember the amount of time every shift we'd have to go up to and try and find ice cream, because we were doing ice cream cocktails, and they are a pain,
Yeah.
weren't a pain, but when you're doing it in volumes 2 for 1, the guests loved them. So you could take the easy route sometimes and not do stuff, but we tried to do everything really.
When did you feel that? Because at the beginning, like, I understand, because the Fridays concept works. I mean, I've opened a business because I knew how many people wanted milkshakes. So I was like, I know it's going to work because I make loads of milkshakes. So you've done your research on what people want to drink. What stage at Beer One was you like, we are different now. We're not Fridays. At the beginning, we probably, we did this. You look like a Fridays idea. When did you feel that Be at One was Be at One? Like it's, where it is now.
Well, that's interesting. What we did maybe it's going to take me a little while to answer this, but what we did feel, obviously, when we had more money to actually build better sites, and actually get, we didn't want them to be like style bars, but we kept to the fact that before we open a bar, we actually think about what people are going to run it before we even talked about what it was going to look like, because people make places come to life, and I've been to many places where it's like a couple of £1 million fit out, and I'm being served by someone that doesn't care, or I'm not getting 5-second eye contact, and I'm getting 2 drinks, one's an overpour, one's an underpour, no consistency. And it's great building, but it's actually the people that bring this to life. So I think for us, being able to build better sites, and the main thing was our menu, 250 drinks on the menu, but we used to go off and actually bring some people in, maybe some mixologists. There's a guy called Miles Davis that used to come, and he'd won mixology awards. He came to work for us, which people were shocked about because it was Be at One. And every couple of years, we'd push the menu even further, and then relaunch that new menu. And everyone else were trying to maybe come in behind us, like Adventure or other bars that were looking at us, not just them, but we would then jump a bit further ahead on our fit outs, our menu, and really never sat back. So we were always saying, right, okay, this new menu launch has gone well, got some great drinks, but then let's start again to make sure that we keep going forward and not getting success.
I mean, that must have been the compliment. No, as I said,
Oh yeah.
When I got like saying, I mean, obviously, I don't know if you knew, well, obviously, I know you didn't know about Fridays looking at you as a guide. I mean, that to me is that's the biggest compliment you could ever get, is that because it's an amazing concept and it gives you the start in the industry that you want to get. But when you've matured and you've actually learned everything you needed to learn, and then you've left, it's like the Fridays gave birth to you, and then you've gone off on your own, and they've turned you around going, that's our son out there doing this, and it's like it's a big compliment to Be at One as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are other people that come to work for us that have said the same thing. Other breweries and other bar companies that said that they always used to talk about us in their management meetings and stuff, and bring their team in to say, this is what we want. Look, we want our guys to be like this, or we want this kind of level of professionalism. And everyone just looked like they wanted to be there and they were loving their job. So, that's, if you own a chain of pubs or whatever, it's a massive compliment, and it's down to all of our team and even human resources, HR, the people that were hiring. We really had such a strong team for quite a few years. At the end, it's brilliant.
Right, here we go. So let's do some quick fire round questions. Okay, so let's see the bartender in you still. So favorite pour, 1 3/4 or 2 ounce? Or did you have a favorite pour?
Yeah, 1 1/4.
You just like 1 1/4.
I don't know why.
Because you used to get it.
Well, even at Beer One towards the end, when I go around and do the bar visits, I used to come in, and this was literally right up to when we sold. So, you might walk in and it might be quite a bit of the shift. So, I'd walk up to the bar, say hello to the boys, check everything was all right, and then right, porter's kit, right, I'd stick a $5 down and go,
Nice.
Okay, you and me, and then if you win, you keep the $5. So, even right up to the end, just doing things like that, the bartenders loved it because they were working for 3 bartenders and still doing it really. So you always got to make sure they know that what's in the drinks. Why haven't you filled all the ice wells up with ice? You've got to set up as if you're going to be busy, and I can still beat you in a pour test.
Nice.
That kind of thing really. So
did you because I know we every year you used to have like bar outings, didn't you? Was there
well, yeah. So when Fridays first started in the UK, they used to shut all the Fridays, and it was called the Summer Hop, and they had an almighty party. This was like when it was only 5, 6 Fridays. I think they stopped it because they got a bit crazy. But then obviously people in office were like, "You're shutting 6 businesses." So no, we started as well. We started when we had 2 beat ones. I think 1 beat one. 2 beat ones. We had the summer hops. We go up to ones with common. When we had Ballum and stuff. But right until we sold, we'd shut 33 bars, and everyone got together. And that was we had coaches coming down from up north. We said to our investors and stuff, this is really important. The bartender challenge. When we got to 10 sites, I started that. And we all know what a great tool that is for raising standards and retaining staff.
That's a good point, actually. I mean, it does do that. When you said like retaining staff, I mean, a lot of people, if it wasn't for the challenge, would I still be around? I don't know. But again, because of the challenge, it seems to give you that stuff that keeps you learning, keeps you improving, and also keeps you there. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, finding good staff is hard to do. So
even harder now, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got an incentive there for them to be around. I think it's a good point. So for other businesses out there, I think do more challenges, I guess. So yeah.
Well, it's funny. So I got contacted only recently and did a little guest, one of these with people that are running Fridays now. A guy called Sean Wheeler, who worked at Fridays years ago. He's still in contact with the new MD of Fridays. I'm not quite sure of their name, but they then,
Robert Cook.
That's right. Yeah. So we did like one of these online forums with old school Fridays people from different departments. So it was very kindly. I said, yeah, no problem. I'll give, I'll go on that just to sort of give back really, because they wanted to talk about the magic and where it was and stuff. So, and then since then they don't. You won the bartender challenge last year.
Yes, Robert Cook was the first year he's done it. First year it was.
Right. So I got asked to maybe help with the bartender challenge at Fridays. Actually, there you go. You're the first to know.
Okay.
So in Spain when I've been out here, they said, maybe can you advise or do something to be a part of it, because isn't it coming up to a special birthday soon on Fridays? Is it 35 years or something?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's like you always get confused with the American for 65 and the UK's what's the UK's? I should know. 86. So so 85, 86. So, but so it's just
it'd be quite strange to go back to Fridays if even if it's just for a bit helping out. So there we go. You heard it first.
Yeah, but I think as well, like because of it's good to actually give back as well because of see you've received so much from them. Say like some of the clutter, some of the stuff I still use. So I mean, even just a day-to-day basis, you can always see, you know, you're going through a stressful time in life, and you go traffic light theories, stop, think, go, and
Yeah.
so you're constantly always using theories throughout your
Yeah.
life all the time. So.
At Haymarket, that traffic light was above the toilet. So people used to say, "Where's the toilet?" So just see the traffic lights. But you can only go in when it goes green. And you used to get people standing there going. So
Oh, that's just brilliant.
I can't
So
believe these things popping in your head. So
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I love the stuff behind the scenes with Fridays because there was, I don't know, well, I think it's true, but they used to put like TVs, flashing lights anywhere where there was like something they didn't want to see. So in other words, where the kitchen was, so you didn't look into the kitchen, they put the traffic lights. So where the bus stands used to be, like used to people just to dump their plates and everything else, they'll put
yeah,
another flashing light. So it was like a deterrent. So
yeah,
it's like that kind of idea. Like it's like that someone's actually put a lot of thought into the layout of the actual
mm.
restaurants and
Well,
where to put stuff.
because it was Fridays was a singles bar originally, but so they used to have the telephone booth,
Yeah,
yeah, cigarette machine over that side, toilets over that side. So it was always an excuse to walk around and go brush past somebody and you know, or get close to someone that you might be, you know, attracted to. That's why you could see through part of the island bar, so you could pretend you needed to go make a phone call and actually get near someone that you found attractive. So all those sort of theories, there was always an excuse to go over to a different
I
part of the
think so.
bar.
Yeah, it's incredible. So did you have obviously we talked about flair moves that you invented. So I mean, was there a specific one that you enjoyed the most, which you can say that I invented it? So the elbow move. What else was there?
Uh,
Was there much
oh
in,
mate,
apart from that?
there's so many I can't.
So many, so many. Oh, the drink flip, wasn't it? The drink flip. So yeah, the drink flip.
Yeah, I mean the double tall wine stuff, and yeah, I think a lot of the, you know, there was a lot of the sort of, oh, I can't remember, Rob,
So
actually. I
many,
might have to
so
go look.
many, so many. So did you
So
have like any bad mistakes with flaring? Did you take somebody's head off or cut yourself?
yeah, so yeah, I bounced a bottle of at Haymarket. I bounced a bottle of Heineken empty down the bar. I can't remember who. It might have been Jules, I don't know. And it went off at a funny angle, smashed, and then a bit of the green bottle landed in um, this woman's cheek.
Oh my God.
And I
Wow.
thought, oh, I've lost my job now.
Yeah,
And then I think when I was at Fareham, because on one of the stations it had a cello,
yeah.
you know, and I was a little bit overzealous with Collins glass, and it hit the strings, smashed, and then it came down and dug into my leg.
Whoa.
So that kind of hurt. But obviously it's busy shift. You haven't got time to bleed. Just tape it up.
Is that there?
Um,
So was you
yeah,
bouncing? Was you bouncing the bottle to bounce off the floor into the bin?
yeah, to someone else. To
Oh,
someone
for
else.
somebody
So
else to
like you
catch.
used to, yeah. So that didn't work out so well.
Oh.
Yeah. So I mean,
That's how
yeah,
you
I mean,
learn, though, isn't it? That's how you
yeah.
learn.
Well, I
So
mean, the amount of times you go into the sink and yeah, you might have a broken wine glass in there, and nothing more of a heart-sinking feeling having a great shift, and then you have to go off and then put tape and rubber thing, and then a blue plaster and stuff, and then work the rest of the shift just
well,
in
I'm glad I'm
pain.
not the
So
only one that's actually like got stitches and
your hands used to be a mess sometimes, didn't they?
everything else. So
Not
when was the
so.
last time you actually flared?
Uh, cool. Not that long ago actually, because I did a bit of at the beginning of the year. Probably yeah, at the beginning of the year, I did some stuff. I went to Alaska and did a trip up there near Denali, staying in Sheldon Chalet, and yeah, because you're making cocktails, people know what you've done.
Yeah,
I try not to do it because you don't practice. So yeah. So actually, no, it was yesterday.
really. So,
I
did
went
you?
for a run. I was flipping the water bottle full on my hand, walking down near the beach. So there you go.
It's cool because I was like saying because obviously I'll always think about because obviously we're going through a really bad time at the moment. But with the Roadhouse closing down, I mean, was you a figure around? I know you did the competition once or twice.
Yeah,
But did you go into the Roadhouse?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I used to judge them. I entered the first one they did actually, and then but just for fun really, it was quite enjoyable. And then I judged them for the first year or so, I think. And then when myself, Reese, and Steve came into first transfer to London stores, Roadhouse had just opened and it was dead. It was so big in there, but no one really knew about it. So it was so clean as well.
I was in the Flair comp. I was there. I was actually
Oh, you?
competing next year. I came,
Oh, really?
yeah, because you came, I think fifth. I
Right.
came third. Byron
Right.
Lewis won, and Oliver Pluck came second.
Wow.
And
Good memory.
I remember when you came off, and I was like going, because you were so like you was wearing your B at one top, and you were so like because you did it to some Michael Jackson song. I can't remember what it
Probably.
was. And I was like, because everyone was just saying, yeah, he's got a lot on his mind at the moment.
Well, the thing was Roadhouse. I thought it expected to be behind the bar, and then to be stood on a
The
stage.
stage,
I
yeah,
found it really. I didn't like it at all.
yeah,
I really like doing it behind the bar. It felt right, but
yeah,
you know, but I just felt really exposed.
yeah.
And plus, I wasn't flaring or practicing anymore. But yeah, I
Well,
found it a bit weird
I knew
being up on
that.
stage.
I took advantage of that.
Oh, well done.
Well, you made my day though. You did. I was like, oh
Yeah.
wow, I was going. My idol,
Well,
I've actually, competed against. So
I think Sam Clayton, we did it to try and raise
yeah,
get more awareness about Beat One. So
yeah,
I
it was
think
a
it
good day.
worked.
It was good. It was good. Anyway, so Friday's favorite food. What did you used to eat a lot of?
Yeah, obviously they changed the chicken wings, but the wings used to be
Well, the hot
amazing.
wings. Hot
Hot
wings.
wings, yeah, the Frank sauce. And then yeah, I think just the usual stuff, isn't it?
Yeah,
To the loaded potato skins, but add mushrooms
mushrooms
was always a
instead.
winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but that was it, I think, really.
Favorite cocktail? Favorite Friday's cocktail?
The first one I ever drank was a June bug. That is
Okay.
very sweet,
Oh,
isn't it?
that's cool. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what that is? It still in the menu?
Still a June bag. Yep, still there. Still going strong.
And then, yeah, I mean, in those days, it was all Harvey Wallbangers and that kind of stuff. But so, yeah, favorite bartender's drink, Sea Breeze,
Yep.
for a few years. And actually, Beat One, if you were doing the music, that was called the Sea Breeze Station. Just something quick and easy to drink, wasn't it? So, but yeah, I think I'm not, and Gibson, straight up.
Oh wow, that's different. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice. Yeah, nice one.
But yeah.
So, cocktail of the movie. We always mention this anyway. Do you love it, hate it, and if you and then did you go to? Have you been to New York and been to the first ever TGI Fridays?
Yes, I went there, and it wasn't because it was sold, wasn't it? It was somebody
Yeah,
else there instead.
So I went out in '97, and it was called Boxers, and it was like
Right.
an Irish bar, but it still had the shotgun bar, so it still had the same kind of setup that you
Yeah.
see, in the movie Cocktail, of course. So did you? So what was your experience when you went there?
Well, no, of course I've loved the film. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it was it. I mean, the amount of bartenders, people that started bartending because of that movie was huge,
yeah,
and obviously at the time, with when you're um, the banter behind the bar was cocktail and quotes and Top Gun and that kind of stuff, and it was just having a laugh really. And
yeah,
but going to looking back now, I've worked in New York, I said before, Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai, Cape Town, Dallas, and stuff, and been around. It's that kind of and what we did, opening up your bars and stuff. It's a dream really. So
Did you
we've
have
done the real.
Did you have a favorite country that you enjoyed most? Then, because obviously you've been everywhere. So I mean, was there one that stood out?
I mean, uh, well, I think New York, and before I, retired to Costa Rica, I went out and did the Brooklyn Bar Show. is really good, and Brooklyn's changed so much. So I think, you know, Brooklyn, you can see New York City, but actually Brooklyn there, and you know, the bars and just it's just such a nice vibe. So I think, yeah, I've been out to New York quite a lot, and so New York, Brooklyn definitely is right up there. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, but I loved Canada. I went to Canada last year, and yeah, I really loved it. So I'm looking forward to going back there.
Okay. So, service bar or front bar? What did you prefer?
Well, oh, service bar used to scare the shit out of me. When your knowledge isn't there, there's nowhere
Yeah.
to hide. So, but it's quite funny. But towards the end, not towards the end. Once you got the knowledge, I used to love the service bar. You know, that challenge, especially how busy Haymarket in Covent Garden. You know, I remember doing my first PM service bar at Haymarket, and I was Ray Weeks was on the AM. So literally, before we had ticket machines, it was calling order. So you could have 100 cocktails in your head. They just put the pink slip down, call it out, and walk off the dubs. And then obviously the ticket machine, and they changed the system. But it was literally flying out. And then lots of the times you'd be handing over for probably maybe half an hour or so, sometimes an hour, with the bartender, just de-weeding him. So he's making cocktails, and the AM guys getting on the beers and wines out for you, because it was just relentless. So yeah, by the end, you know, obviously start of my career front bar, being up there, but actually once you crack the service bar, it was a nice feeling to have a good shift, a flawless shift, and that kind of stuff.
I bet you was glad when you weren't around with draft.
Well, no, Fareham and Haymarket and Covent Garden had one little draft pump on each side of the bar.
Okay.
I know Fareham and Covent Garden did. I know Covent Garden boys used to keep cutting the pipes. So
Yeah.
no draft.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
The annoying thing is I always like worry about mentioning people's names and stuff. But I've heard
Say no names.
people were kicking in tea bars and stuff. Speed round again. So what we're going to do is go through some quick fire some questions. Just tell me what you think, and then we go from there. So we've got favourite pour. What is your favourite pour?
As in
one ounce,
right.
2 ounce.
Yeah, 1 1/4. I don't know why.
Okay.
I still make my gin and tonics 1 1/4.
Did you do any competitions on pour testing with the guys?
How do you mean? Actually, when
Like any bets going on? Like, who can get a 1 ounce, get a £5
I mean,
note?
you're always sort of, if it's a quieter shift, whatever, or I do remember it was quite a big thing to just have a quick pour off for a bit of cash.
Did you was it a strength or weakness you pour in? Was it good?
No, very good. I just think that was just. I mean, the Masters pouring was. I think it took about 4 hours. And that was really intense. But I think because of the competitions each year, you always kept on top of it. And then you always made sure you had your own set of pour spouts and storing pours and stuff that you're always familiar with. So to make sure you just did it every day. I mean, that's
so
when you when
you did your masters, I mean, because I did mine in '98, and if you failed it, you had to retake it again. Was there any tests that you failed first time?
No, I got 99.9%.
Well,
so I sort of did it in. I did it well. Steve and I was Steve Locke and I were supposed to start together. Steve cracked on. I don't know why. My head just wasn't in it. And then I came to the service bar one day, and Steve had his hat on, and I was like, right. So Andy Gillespie, who'd marked all his tests, who's sadly not with us now, I just said, Andy, I'll start tomorrow. And he'd just done all of Steve's tests, and then I just came in and sat them all and did everything within 7 days. And it was just your evaluations. Your 2 front bar, one you know about, and then 2 service bar, one you know about, one you don't. And then obviously that last evaluation, I had the senior management team of Fridays and 4 master bartenders watching me. So that was pretty full on. So I think it took 9 days, but from start to finish. But in those days, if you were allowed to take 3 months to do it, and if you failed, then you had to wait another. I think there was a penalty. You couldn't take it again for X amount of time, I think.
Wow. Okay. Did you? We got Flair moves again. So actually, one thing we did, we had Russell Ward on a few weeks ago, and he mentioned, because we was talking about his trademark was sort of doing the cherry trick. So obviously, he just messaged me saying that you've watched it, kind of thing, and that you was like memorizing when was the first time you saw the amazing cherry trick. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I went to Fairham TGI Fridays when I got back from working for Disney, Euro Disney or Disneyland Paris, and just purely by accident, it was the '92 Fairham Heat. So Danny Hansgo, and I saw Jeff Meston. Do that on the sword, on the cherry, and just saw, I'd never seen anyone bartend like that. Just the way he was talking and moving, and picking up 3 bottles at a time, and just the whole technical side of it. I just, it was just wow. I thought I was good at the time.
Yeah.
I realised how way off I was. So it really sort of took me back, and I think, and that's the first time I saw that.
I just find it funny because you mentioned the swords, and I remember like one guy. I think when I first started, we used to get this. Lee Curtis did once where he used to put all the swords in color order, so he looked like a Pepsi symbol. And then he done the one with you'd burn the swords, so you made a pair of glasses. And used to stuck them together like this, and we ended up doing so many little things with his swords. It was just ridiculous.
He always had a lot of time on his hands, didn't he, Leigh Curtis?
Yeah, I think one stage, when we used to have quiet shifts, we used to get the kids around the bar putting the swords into the glasses just to save time.
Get them, and making some trainers. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Anyway, favorite food in Fridays. What did you enjoy the most? Food.
No, the old days was. I mean the original wings, which I think, with the Frank's hot sauce, but I think the wings changed. I'm not quite sure. And then load of skins, just with mushrooms. It's all pretty standard stuff, really. I mean, we're all weighed about 7 stone because of the hours we were doing, and it was just fuel, wasn't it? Because you're working long hours and actually going out and enjoying yourself as well, as I'm sure you did.
Yeah. Favorite Fridays? Go on, Friday's favorite cocktail.
Well, I think over the years, the different generations has obviously got their different drinks. So for us, it was always the Sea Breeze. That was Stolly Sea Breeze, Stolly, extra shot Stolly. But no, and then Gibson was my go-to. But I think you just go through phases depending on what year it was, or what time of the year it was. So I think basically drank them all.
Drank it all. Service bar or front bar?
To start with, front bar. The service bar used to scare the living daylights out of me because there's nowhere to hide. The drinks will just be shouted out to you because it was the calling order in those days. So you'd have 100 drinks in your head, but it just takes time to get used to that. And then once your knowledge is there, I love the service bar, and it was just to get your head down and really try and have that perfect shift, because some of the service bars shifts at Haymarket and Covent Garden, Haymarket especially, because at the time Planet Hollywood was there. It was the busiest walked street in Europe. Those times have changed now, but literally you were getting absolutely slammed. So it was a nice feeling to know everything, and that reflected in the tips that you got from the dubs.
What was the biggest tip you ever had over the bar?
I think that was working at Covent Garden, because we still, in those days, everyone from the city would come for Thursday night. Now the city's changed and there's all bars and restaurants and it's open, but in those days bars in the city would be shut by 7 o'clock. So Covent Garden was absolutely slammed. So biggest tips, 300, 400 pounds when they close off. But then that's one guy's bar tab of 2,500. Wow. They'd come in and go, I need 40 woo-woos and I want the apps menu twice. And then they would order it all again, and the food. It was just carnage. So, and money was no object to them. So it wasn't their money they were tipping with.
Did you ever like because you stayed with Fridays for a long, long time? Did anyone try poaching you at any point, like to work for them?
Yeah. I remember it was the day after my birthday, and I was pretty hungover, but put a smile on it. And I was bartending, and they'd sent some people over from Hong Kong because there was the China jump.
Yeah.
So that was the green and white stripes. So I think the guy that owned that came over and sat on my station, and watched me all night, and then wanted me to come out. So, but I hadn't won the worlds then, so so I didn't go. I know.
Did Paul Mason go to the jump? Did he at some stage or
I think
go?
Paul. I think I know. Reese Oldfield did. My business partner, ex-business partner. Reese worked there for a while. I mean, a lot of bartenders went out and worked there because it's similar sort of setup. And there was a nice little. But that all kind of changed in '96 because obviously it was handed back.
Yeah.
I mean, you get asked all the time, but for me, I wanted to. Things like getting your blue cap and winning the worlds was something that wanted to tick before I did it. Went off anywhere else.
So how close to the jump was to Fridays? Was it like obviously the green and white stripes, which is quite funny? Was there clutter on the walls? Was it like?
Yeah, it was everything. Island bar, but they had the dentist chair that you could lay back in. And then like the England football team did in '96, you see pictures of Teddy Sheringham and Gazza. All very similar. I mean, it was ex-Fridays boys that were involved in it, I think. And it turned into a nightclub. So you actually, the way to get in, you had to get in a lift. It was kind of tall building, and the doors would open, and it would just be the same sort of Fridays feeling, but it actually turned into a nightclub. So I think it got a little bit messier. There was no family restaurant kind of thing.
Because when I watch like your videos and stuff like that, you look so, well, I won't say squeaky clean. You look professional, very professional. Was there anyone on the bar, like like with the bar tricks doing screaming orgasms, flaming Lamborghinis? Was there anyone on the bar that actually he was the one that was always doing it? Like, was there anyone on
No,
the
we're
bar?
all I think once when you're depending on who you're working with, you're all kind of as a bartender, you're bouncing off each other, and you've all got something different to bring to the table. But you'd all I mean, we'd all kind of do the orgasm routines. And Flaming Lamborghini's got banned in the end because the suits knocked it over and caught on fire. So I think we took all that to be at one, and and we had to ban Lamborghinis as well because I think someone tried to sue us because they put their hand in the fire, or actually picked the glass up and put it into their mouth on fire.
Yeah, I don't think people understand it until it goes wrong how bad it is.
I mean, it's on fire. Don't put it in your mouth.
Yeah. Well, saying that, when we do, because we're going to do a confession soon, but my confession's quite a simple one really, but it's quite bad. I was serving. Actually, she was a member of staff, so it's all right. But she was sitting on the bar and she was wearing a woolly jumper, like woolly like kind of top, and I had my Zippo thing. You know when you used to do that, the cliffing it like this. And I was doing this all the time, and I ignited it. And I caught her arm, and her arm went on, but literally a blue flame crawled up her arm. Her arm got on fire. So I grabbed her arm, and I literally put her arm out on the bar like this. And then I just carried on serving her. And I was like, because it was just so like, it just caught onto her arm so quickly. And I just reacted to, I mean, good job I did react, because otherwise she would have been running around the restaurant with her arm on fire.
Fajita runner.
Fire on the bar, know when to do it. Yeah, safety first, always safety first. So, but did you have a favorite trick behind the bar? Like magic trick, or because I remember seeing your Moscow Mule trick in the UK final.
Jeff Meston taught me the plate cherry trick. Everyone was doing the tins, but to do it with 2 plates, 4 cherries. And I kind of took that because then he added to it. I think at the Worlds, he's I think there's a magic shop in Charing Cross on the tube station, which we used to go
I don't know if
to.
it's there still. I was thinking
No.
about this the other day because every challenge came round, everyone went there, didn't they? And
Well, yeah, I
it
mean,
was a good way of getting a
Jules
trip.
was the ketchup. He had the rubber ketchup bottle, and you could get
Yeah,
a rubber champagne bottle as well. But then
yeah.
Jeff did the one with the newspaper, where you kind of wrap. I think you wrap the bottle around with the newspaper, but because you're behind the bar, you've got to get it right, and then the bottle will drop away, but you still looks like the bottle's there. And he
In
put it
drink,
through the
yeah.
plate and that sort of stuff. But then I think yeah, Whitbread had introduced the Smirnoff Moscow Mules, which you
Yeah.
couldn't see through, so I got a scalpel and took it apart and put it back together without the glass inside, and then went to the fridge and took it out and put it through and that kind of stuff. But you can really get your corner bar, everyone involved, sucking up the cherry through the plate with the straw, and that interaction in that corner bar theory, that was sort of my favorite trick. But me, I've set a woman's hair on fire, because sometimes when you're serving and out the corner of your eye, it looked like she was getting a cigarette out.
Yeah.
So you kind of just, without looking, trying to be quite,
Cool.
cool. And I think she had a lot of hairspray. I just
Oh,
remember smelling this, and it just went whoosh.
nice.
So it's those little
How did you
moments you
put?
think,
Did you put her head out?
yeah, no, everyone started whacking around. Oh no. So
So
yeah, I
she,
didn't think I'd have a job the next day. And then that time I told you about the bouncing the empty
yeah.
Heineken bottle down the bar, and it shattered, and it came off awkwardly, and then that it was, yeah,
So you
this
are
woman was on a
human.
date, yeah, and this big, she turned around and she just had a big piece of Heineken green glass in her cheek. Shouldn't laugh. I really thought I'd lost my job here.
Yeah, but we can laugh now. That's
So
the thing. she's
yeah,
she's all right. She got basically she's still alive today, so it's
yeah,
okay. So
she's not talking to me. So, and then obviously when the bars were jamming and doing the, like the single or double frozen flips, because the whole of the restaurant would stop, and you could ring the bells, and then to do the double flips and land them, and that was the place would just go
yeah,
nuts. So
because
then you get that
I
real
think
adrenaline rush.
because you mentioned like when you practicing the bounce off the elbow, you would go to the service bar. Was that a lot of place you went to practice a little bit or keep things under
It's
key?
just the Covent Garden one. You had the shutter you could pull down, and
Yeah,
so uh, yeah, you just, if you finish setting up or breaking down, and then things just pop in your head, and you just try them out in privacy, really. So it was always about, let's try and invent something new for the challenge, because everyone expected it.
yeah,
It was anticipation of what have you come up with next. So that was quite nice, really. But always, my routines were, could I do this on a busy Saturday night? So that was quite important. It needs to make a drink properly. It looked, no spills, no drops, and that kind of thing.
yeah. I think when you watch the videos, like you see the accuracy. I think there was one in the '96, and you go because back then I think smoothies were done in tall wines as well, and I think if you watch the
Yep.
pouring, all the drinks look amazing. And then Jules Andrews does I'll put money on it. It's a surfer because it's like over pour, and you're like, oops, that's the
Yeah, I don't know
'96
why those were
one.
put in the video. I think you should. I asked Andy that once. He's like, well, to show that you were much better than everyone else. But when you watch it, you think it's not a great advert, because it's all dripping down
Yeah,
this side.
it's dripping
Yeah, I
down the
mean that
sides.
I think that my front bar routine at the Worlds was 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and I could have gone on, but it was like all those years of doing the challenge, and you could see my reaction as I walked to the bar, and I knew that was the best I've ever done.
Yeah.
And then it
And
didn't
also,
matter. I knew.
it just seemed like Raspberry Watkins seemed to be served everywhere. Like every bartender seems to be making
It's
Raspberry
huge, yeah.
Watkins.
That Raspberry Watkins, Sea Breezes, and I think if you went up north, Jack Daniels was a real bartender's drink.
Mm.
Yeah, those were standard
Mm.
session
So,
drinks.
have you got a favourite joke or famous quote?
No, not really. I think you've got to
No
be careful going down the road of making jokes. I'm out of practice
jokes.
now.
Uh,
But well, I don't know. I mean, for us in those, when you're bartending and you're just sort of bouncing off the rest of your teammates, you know, you're always dropping in quotes from Top Gun or Cocktail or Roadhouse film. So it's just a little bit of banter. If you're serving or coming past somebody, you'd say a little quote, and then it would just make them smile. So you're obviously interacting with the guests, but also you're having your own separate VIP party, you know, with the guys you're working with, and it just made it more fun, and the nights go quicker.
Yeah. So when you talk about Top Gun, I mean, you didn't have like Goose or Maverick behind the bar, or
Well, no, you just used to say that. You just used to say, you know, their quotes.
Oh, okay.
So they're just the, you know, like, so you're the one, and that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Cool.
Because when I got to
did you have at any point? Do you have a nickname at any stage? Did anyone give Lee Miller a nickname?
Yeah, so at Fareham, Jez McDermott, Andy Dominy, John Thurway, and myself were the only bartenders for the store. So in those days, they could see that I really was just absolutely loved my job and wanted to be the best in the world, and so they nicknamed me Simba because I was still I was 18 when I joined Fridays, so Simba from the Lion King. So they just jokingly used to say that's they could see the way I was heading, so that's the nickname they give me. And I think when I got to I think at some stage Spunky. So yeah, Spunky. I don't know why. I think that's it. Yeah.
Must be your personality. Anything else? So
yeah,
that's so cool. So any confessions that you have, like anything you regret doing within Fridays or outside Fridays that you wish you could take back?
I regret going into management.
Okay.
But because I really enjoyed training, so I was on the NSO team.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed that. So I regret not doing an international. So I actually asked when I was first line manager, but after 6 months just wasn't enjoying it, and I wanted to go back into the bar and do the training, just do more international openings.
Yeah.
Training.
What didn't you like about the management?
Well, I think lots of bartenders won the challenge and then went into management, and it was almost kind of that was the done thing. But I'm not sure. Because
I went into management and I found it quite like you felt like you was in kindergarten, like you dealt with everybody's problems. Every day was somebody else's problem.
You're constantly wiping asses. That's the way we described it. So it was just hard because the money they paid at the time, and you're living in central London, and just coming off the back of being very well paid, because in those days we earned commission. So it was all a bit of a shock to the system, really. And then it wasn't as fun, and you can learn a lot. Don't get me wrong. And if you're really into it, I think I just wasn't really, and I think I only probably got in because of what I'd done within Fridays. If I'd applied, separately, I probably wouldn't have made the grade.
So did you went back to the bar? Did you though for management?
No, well they said no. It's a guy called Phil Broad. I think he was running at the time. They said you need to resign, and then we'll talk about it then. So I resigned and said, right, when am I going back on the bar? And they said, no, it's not happening. So that was it.
Oh well. Well, but look at you now, though. Look at you now. So he probably did you a favour. So what's the most famous person you've served?
Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, that's good. That's cool.
Where
was that?
Haymarket. He brought his son up to do, son up to the bar, to do, watch some magic and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's probably yes. That's probably it.
Apart from all the other celebrities on TV programs you've served as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, it's footballers and that kind of stuff, and pop stars, but he's probably globally, up
so
there.
where do you see bars going at the moment? I mean, obviously you've got loads of experience. So where do you see bars going from now? Do you see them like I don't know, like more mixology bars, or they're going to be more sit-down restaurants? How do you participate in the future of bars?
Well, I mean, at the moment, it's a great time to, you know, pick up some bargains. Really, I think obviously a lot of restaurants and bars are going to close, and it's interesting. So, how, you know, with the pandemic, how our bar's going to be as packed? Is it affected some people that they, you know, probably don't want to be in such a busy bar so close to people? I don't know. I think once everything gets back to normal, I think hospitality will really recover, and it's all going to be chock-a-block, isn't it? I mean, if everyone was sitting outside in their ski gear, I've seen pictures, you know, in London. People are desperate to get out, get back to normal. But yeah, I think you know, I think it's going to thrive, really. I think there's lots of bartenders out there that want to open their own bars, and it's a great opportunity to pick up some good bargain sites, really. So, you know, when we opened Be It One, you know, trying to educate people that you can drink cocktails 7 nights a week, you know, rather than just special occasions and stuff. I think nowadays it's just accepted that if you walk into a bar, you know, you should be able to get a nice glass of wine, a nice pint, and a good cocktail. So I think that's where bars become more, you know, will do everything. Yeah.
And where do we see the amazing Leigh Miller? What's your plans for the future?
Well, that's a very good question, Rob. I was just thinking that myself. So, well, no, so once we, you know, we had Be It One for 20 years, sold, and it took a while to decompress. And, you know, I've been behind bars since 1991. You know, we only sold a few years ago, so it was nice to take some time off, really. Clear your head, obviously, you know, retiring to Costa Rica and having a few years off. But yeah, there's only so many pina coladas you can have, and I'm just trying to work out what I'm going to do next. So you know, I really don't know.
Well, we're looking forward. We're all looking forward to see your next projects. I'm sure you have loads anyway. And again, thank you so much for doing this today. It's been absolutely awesome. So, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you?
I'll get in touch with them.
Okay, okay. But again, I'm sure.
I don't know why anyone want to get in touch with me. I mean, I just joined Facebook myself, so I think it's all the usual stuff. But yeah, no, it's been a real pleasure actually, and you know, great work for myself and everyone else.
Thank you.
On the technical side. So it's been good to sort of remember, you know, people I've worked with, and I've left anybody off, names that I've mentioned about bar teams, because, you know, obviously most of the guys you only recognise from the videos, but there's quite a few other bartenders that work on the bar that make the team, you know, a great bar team, because they've all got different personalities. So I just hope wherever they are, whoever I've worked with over the years, they're all safe and happy. And yeah, great job, Rob.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I was just saying, because there was a couple of videos that you're gonna been looking for. So do you want to mention them too?
Well, I think you need to track down the 1993 Fridays.
1993, yeah.
They never made a 94 one. So that would have been a really good one from, you know, to get hold of. And then there was the World Flair in 95 and 97, which were held up north. One in JW Johnson's and one in Via Vita's. So, you know, that's awesome. I had them at some point, but they're really good because they were a really good standard of bartending up there. And yeah, I think there's loads.
So if anyone has them who's watching this, please message me and we'll get these over to Leigh as soon as possible. My name's Rob Stevens, interviewing the amazing, legendary Leigh Miller. This is Legends in Bartending. Again, thank you so much for listening in, and looking forward to see everyone again very soon.